There's two great days in life. So the first is the day you're born, and the second is when you figure out why. And for me, I understand what my why is. My why is to inspire greatness in every person that I encounter, because I truly believe that deep inside all of us, we have the potential to be great, but sometimes we just don't tap into that. So that's what my passion is helping people find their success, whatever industry, whatever, if it's athletic teams, coaches, players, executives. Everybody has a dream, and I want to help them pursue that and then achieve that success. So that's what I'm most passionate about. I believe truly that everything rises and falls on leadership. You know, on sports teams, people talk about you're only as good as your weakest link, okay? But I don't believe that. I don't agree with that. You're only as good as your leaders are going to pull your team forward, okay? So if you're concerned and you're working with your weakest links down here, okay, well, you might close the gap, right? But is that whole team growing and moving forward? Here's a John Maxwell quote. He says in one of his books, he says, leaders are the lid on your team or on your organization. So what that means is we have a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, 10 is your best day ever. All right, you're writing home about it, you're posting on Facebook. Okay, fantastic day. 1 is worst day ever, you want to bury your head in the sand. Okay, if your leaders in your organization or your team are, let's say, a 6, 7, let's give them a 7 on a given day, your team, the players on that team, the people in the organization can only rise to a 7 because the leaders are the lid, okay? So in order for your organization, your team to grow, the leaders have to raise the bar so the team can grow under them. So first and foremost, everything rises and falls on leadership. So that's one thing that I do is I come in and I want to train and empower leaders to pull their organizations up. Culture fuels performance. You say, well, what is culture? Culture is it's the beliefs and behaviors of a specific group of people. Okay, so as a coach, as an executive, I'm going to say, okay, well, what do my players believe? What do they believe about themselves? What do they believe about me as their coach? What do they believe about our team? And then the behaviors. How are my players behaving when they win? How do they behave when they lose? How do they behave when nobody's looking? So the beliefs and behaviors of a specific group, this is the culture, and your leaders create the culture, right? Because everybody's following the leader. If you think about a long train, okay? I lived in the Midwest for quite a while. You come up to the train tracks and you see 1 engine, 2 engines, 3 engines. When there's 3 engines, 4 engines, you're shutting your car off, putting down the windows, because you know what? You're going to be there a while because the train is long, okay? Well, leaders are the engines to their team, to that train, okay? They're the spark. They're the ones that power and move it forward. So we have to get our leaders understanding these concepts. What I like to do is build relationships. That's what life is about. As humans, we're hardwired for connection. When I was coaching soccer, if I build that relationship with my players, I'm going to get more out of them, right? They're going to trust me. We've got those connections. So that's how I run my business right now. The people that I work with, whether it's a coach, team, leaders, I want to build a relationship with you, and I want to be on the journey with you. What's most important to me is building a custom strategy that's going to meet the needs that a coach has, that's going to meet the needs that an executive has. Okay, that's where I want to be. That's where I want to come in and help. And some common things that have come up that I talk about is, especially with teams, is communication. Okay, do your athletes know how to communicate with each other? Because communication, there's toughness involved in that. Sometimes athletes have a hard time saying the tough things, right? Because they want to be liked. They want, they don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. And then there's toughness on the receiving end of that. So communication. I talk about accountability, individual greatness. Do your players, are they setting goals? Do they know how to achieve those? Is there willpower to achieve those? Commitment levels. Talk about culture. There's lots of different things on the mental side, the emotional side of the game. It's both psychological and it's sociological, right? There's a great deal of emphasis now on the mental side of the game, and I love that. I'm all about the mental conditioning side, but if I have 20 players that are solid mentally, right, but sociologically, they don't know how to work together. There's no leaders that are rising to the top, or those leaders don't know how to lead. Well, then we still have some issues, right? We still have some challenges that we have to move through. So that's where I come in, and I look at what's going on, and I want to build a custom strategy to help you in what you need. A common response that I get sometimes is, look, a coach or a leader says, I don't have time, or hey, my players need to want it themselves, and I've done all I can, right? The old adage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, So I think sometimes as coaches, and I confess in my own career as a coach, I've done this, is you say, well, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Like, what else am I going to do? But you know something? I don't believe that anymore. Because guess what? I can put salt in that horse's mouth, and I can make him thirsty. Right? So there is always something else that we can do. The coach is the most influential person in a young person's life. Young person, older person, they're always looking to their coach for answers, for somebody to follow, for that good influence. And so we make those connections, we drop golden nuggets on them, and we give them the appetite to want more.